doing that convergence lifestyle thing. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
Sometimes you gotta find a balance.
So to speak. Pun intended?
Pun, very much intended.
Oh my God. Hey everybody. Welcome to actually one of my favorite times is Friday lives. And we're going a little bit early because here with my buddy Rob, and we're going to be talking about really a kind of a philosophical question that we're going to pose to everybody, and kind of basically we're going to talk about, of course, we're going to talk about the convergence and let you know a little bit about the philosophy behind the convergence, what it is that we're shooting for, what we're grasping at, and here's the thing, that the convergence is it's coming up. It's July 16th through the 18th. If you would like to sign up for the convergence, you can go to my website, jessecoomer.com, and you can find it there, or you can go to Eventbrite and search for the convergence. It will be found there. Also, if you haven't already signed up for me and Rob's, like I've got a newsletter, Rob's got a newsletter. Go to our websites, and Rob, he types up all of his newsletters while doing acro yoga and slackline, yeah. And that's if there's a few typos, hey, you got to forgive a guy whenever he's balancing on a line. It's okay to have a few typos. It's a matter of balance. So, but hey, let's see. I'm going to check the chat and make sure the chat is operational. And the chat seems to be operational. If you guys are watching, please go ahead and let me know you're there so that we make sure the chat is alive and working. And all right, so Rob, first of all, before we even get started talking about the philosophy, before we get started talking about the convergence, I was just talking to you a minute ago. We were seeing each other pretty regularly, working together, and it's been a little while. I miss you, brother. How have you been? What you been up to? I know you've been busy with what is it, the Sacred Naturalist School?
Yeah, so Sacred Naturalist School has been it's things I've ever been creating. Literally, and most of the students are leaders and educators who are wanting to expand their scope into the ecology, understanding the plant communities, animal communities, what you can eat, all the medicines, making medicines from the wild plants, but also the ceremony, the intention, the ability to increase our tangible relationship with the natural world and thereby ourselves. And it's 25 days. So from April to October, five-day sessions with the same group of people, and we get to go really deep, and that's been beautiful. We've had some absolutely amazing. We have weekly ecstatic dances here every Tuesday.
Yes,
we've done 17 in a row. We have live bands come in. We just had a pretty famous music producer named Equanimus show up and do ecstatic dance on Wednesday. Basically, have a pop-up festival happening at Mandala Springs right now.
Yeah,
all these people have converged, and they're like work trading. They're helping clear places on the land, beautify things. Literally, Jesse, since the last time you were here, I mean,
yeah,
the amount of work that's been done to make this place even more ridiculous and beautiful than it's ever been before. It's staggering. So what have I been up to? Really just continuing to endeavor on a daily basis. Wake up with the mantra. Today I am living my best life.
Yeah, and
I'm doing it.
That's one of the things I recently, when you are friends with awesome people, you pick things up. And one of the cool things I picked up from you not too long ago was that if it's not a hell yeah, it's a no. And I love that. If you come into a decision, it should be something you're enthusiastically saying yes to. And if it's not a hell yeah, it's a no. If it's like, I don't
And I think
know.
we've learned in our society, especially in a society of mental, emotional, and spiritual adolescence. So,
Yeah.
most of our culture, you spend your entire physical life in a state of mental, emotional, spiritual adolescence because we don't
Yes.
have the rites of passage that
Right.
help us to really launch into that trust in our own capacity and the ability to like then dive into the shadows and do that actual
Yeah.
work to step into what it really means to be a fully realized adult human being on an emotional, spiritual, and mental level. And and honestly, like what comes with that is, when you're not functioning in that place, you make a lot of compromises. And
Yeah.
compromise on the surface seems like a good thing. I'll give a little here, you give a little there, and we'll come to a compromise. And neither of us are really getting what we want, but we're getting somewhere that's mutually okay.
Right.
And and
Yeah.
and so what I want to offer my YouTube brethren, what I want to offer
Yes.
you is that compromise is inherently a lack of creativity and the expansive potential of what we can actually do, because I believe from experience
Yeah.
that for every compromise that could possibly exist, there's actually a win-win-win available. And
Yeah.
if you take enough time and space and enough creativity, you can find the situation where everyone's getting the hell yes out of a situation, not some like compartmentalized mediocre good enough
Yeah.
out of a
Yeah.
situation. And so what I find when I'm around people who've done a lot of work on themselves and have gotten to a point of self realization and advancement in their life is that we no longer need compromise. Like, we're able to take the time and dive in and find the win-win-win. And so
Yeah.
that's my challenge to you out
Yeah.
there, is look in your life where you're making compromise right now and see if you can find the creative opportunity to turn that into a win-win-win where everyone is getting the hell yes level of their needs met in the process.
Yeah,
So
I love that. I love that, and that's been something I've really tried to incorporate. Like I said, you pick these things up, and it's like, man, and I love how it's like, well, you think it's a good thing, but ultimately you're just it's almost too lazy to use your creative spirit and say, hey, we can actually come up with something even better. So no, I love that, absolutely. So and actually, I think this really comes into the convergence, really, like the spirit of developing out of that mental, physical, spiritual adolescence and really crossing over, right? Really developing into that actualized individual that we all can be, that you were born to become.
yes.
But oftentimes, because of one reason or another, right? We don't fully commit. We don't fully, do these like completely get there. And I think what you said a minute ago is really good. It's this matter of these rites of passage, and the thing is, all if you look back through all of the cultures that have led up to this modern world, right? The thing that got us through the eons of human history, all of the cultures, we had these rites of passage that said, okay, here is this, and it might bring you to your knees, right?
Yep.
And some of them might actually kill you. None of those will be. We're not going to kill you at the convergence. Just saying. Probably there will be a there will be a what is it? A waiver, right? But
Yeah.
the intention is to not put you into actual physical or bodily harm. But ultimately, we've had these traditions and these rites of passages that were passed down through the generations that we have for one reason or another, and sadly enough, I think it's a lot of it has to do with we get with the age of reason came this ultimate kind of like a let's just do away with these old superstitions and these, we're more enlightened now, and let's just kind of do away with these things. And I think a lot of times we didn't realize just how much we're going to suffer. And of course, we see it in our movement, we see it in our mental health, we see it with our connectedness or lack thereof. You look at the thing is, it doesn't have to be that way, right? And I love what you say whenever it comes down to, you can tell when a person's done the work, right? When a person's really putting in that work.
You can see it in their eyes.
Yeah.
Without ever having a conversation with someone, you can pass somebody on the street. You could be just walking down the roads of downtown Asheville and pass somebody, and that eye contact, you could be like, this is a human being who has gone through their rites of passage. I'm looking into the eyes right now of an emotionally, spiritually, mentally adult human who's had life experiences that have allowed them to step into that empowerment, which that empowerment becomes the vehicle to continuing to unpack past traumas and to find the healing and the empowerment, because every trauma you've experienced in the past has a gift to provide you. It has a superpower tied to it. And it's bridging the gap to find like where those traumas can lead to an ability to hold space for others in a more powerful way, to hold space for yourself in a more powerful way, lead to the desire to be of service in ways that are related to the experiences that you've had. So rather than being in this constant state of being controlled and ruled by the traumas and the cultural habits that we've integrated, over a lifetime, we then take control of our past. We take control of the traumas. We take control of our experiences, and we can take those things and we can turn them into our mission, our path, our objective, the way that we move in the world. And as such, we start to see ourselves becoming more and more effective agents of service to each other, service to the planet, and service to the culture that future generations are going to be born into, so that there's less of those habits and traumas in that culture, and they're able to start from an even cleaner foundation and build an even more empowered and high functioning version of themselves inherently, without having to muck through anything in the process. And that's the goal. The goal is, what are we doing right now? How are my actions on a day-to-day basis creating the world that I want my nieces and nephews, like Jesse's children, who I want these kids to experience? I want their kids to experience. How am I changing the cultural habits through my actions in a way that's going to make their path that much more epic?
I love that.
The story of their lives more beautiful.
Well, and we live in a world that it's unlike the way that our species really lived, for the vast majority of human history. And of course, there's a lot of ways we could demonstrate that. But I think when we think about our culture, when we think about how we look at ourselves within the structure of humanity, it's for the vast majority of human history, we were in a tribe. That tribe was one that you would likely know every single person eventually. Within your lifetime, you'd get to meet everyone in the tribe, or at least you'd have some kind of a knowledge of them. And we live in a world that is so beyond that, right? It seems infinite. There's so many of us. There's so much of that the tribe has seemed to be just so gigantic, and we start to lose our intrinsic value. We start to lose the conceptualization that my life actually does matter. That it, like you said, that building the foundation for the rest of humanity that comes after us. I'm just this one schmuck, right? I've been saying this word schmuck a lot lately, and I enjoy saying the word now. So I'm like, hey, you schmuck. So thank you for appreciating that as well. I had a person comment on one of my last lives, schmuck. And I was like, are you calling me a schmuck? And I'm like, no, yeah, okay. I was talking about how I enjoy saying that word. All right, cool. You're cool, man. But going back to the deeper thing that we were talking about, which it's important to have jokes as an aside, but I think it's one of those things where we don't see our own intrinsic value, but oftentimes because we see the infinite, what seems like infinite humanity, right? The tribe is so big, there's no way that I make any difference. There's no way I matter, because I don't even have this sense of a community anymore. It just seems like this mass, and we start to lose kind of our sense of identity and our sense of individual power within ourselves. And I think that's why it's important to say, no, wait a minute, you're not valuing the input that you have on this world enough. One person, first of all, if you want to go change the world, guess what? And you and I both have intimate knowledge of this as coaches, as people who are, our purpose in life is to teach and to coach and to help improve people. There's no single person that we have changed, right? It's always that person changed themselves. Yeah, that we might have given them encouragement, information, teaching, data, guidance, but it always comes down to people have to change on our own. And in my lifetime, I've shared this with some of this with you, and we'll share it here. In my lifetime, I've found myself in a position that, I did not like myself, and I did not like. I was unhappy with myself, with the world. I turned to opioids. And I was addicted to those for 10 years of my life. It's so weird thinking back to that right now, as like that used to be my everyday, it's been 12 years ago, so, but it used to be my everyday. And at one time that was just going to be my life. Right. And the reason why, a person, and you don't have to, it's not just drugs, right? It can be anything, right? There's all sorts of maladaptive behaviors. But it wasn't until I decided I had to take myself seriously and really work on myself that I was able to say, okay, what scratch or what itch does this scratch, right? Why is it that I'm doing this? Where am I going? What am I unhappy with? What will make me ultimately a better person for not only myself, but for everybody around me? And so, and it's not overnight, but there are some things that we can do to kind of enhance that, and really take a good look at ourselves. And I know you've had, you've overcome a lot yourself, and it's one of those things where the world is different, right? There is no longer that person that I used to be in the world. That's one person, one scoundrel that no longer is in existence.
Scoundrel.
Right?
Well.
We're getting all of my favorite words in this live today. Ne'er-do-well is also one of my favorite words. But I think there's, I forget who said it, but if you do want to change the world, you start with yourself, and you're really the only person that you can really change. And the cool thing is, you don't have to do it alone, right? You don't have to say, well, I guess I've got to figure it all out by myself. There are traditions, there are methods, there are communities. And this is what we're doing with the Convergence, actually. We're developing that community.
I would even argue that we're at a point where you're not meant to do it alone. Like, we were never meant to be alone. Part of the maladaptive behavior and society is, like, with all the social medias and everything, we've become more isolated as individuals than we've ever. And that's not how we're designed. We're designed as these communal beings. So there's this sense of, well, I gotta press forward, I gotta do it myself, gotta do everything
Yeah.
myself, can't ask for help, can't ask for support. And that is the paradigm that we need to shake out, because yes, the change is always going to be happening from within, but it's going to be relative to the people around you. And if you are
Mm.
surrounded by people who are living in a very toxic way and are not inspiring you,
Yeah.
that is something that needs to shift. You need to seek out the people in your world who inspire you, who are
Yes.
living a lifestyle that resembles what you want in life. And you need to seek these people out, and you need to create community with people who inspire you.
Yeah,
And
because we're social animals, right? This is how we learn. We this is how we develop. We interact. I know, it's something where you do need to have that sense of community, or or you're just this island, and you start to lose that intrinsic value of who. Well, why does it even matter, right?
and part of the fun for me, it's like the group of people that have arrived here, for example, there's
Yeah.
individuals here. It's like I've had like 45-minute beatbox circles, like maintaining the
Oh my
throat,
God.
maintaining the throat like for 45 minutes. But it's like I'm surrounded by people who are doing things rhythmically that
Yeah.
are pushing me to new levels, and I'm realizing it's like, wow, these are people who, at the very least, in this one facet of the holistic range of my life, they are not only inspiring me, but in this moment right now, through them doing their skill, they're
Mm-hmm.
pushing me to step up to a next level of my own rhythmic relationship to this particular skill set, which is also a very powerful self-aligning, getting that throat singing rhythm in the body. These are all really important things that have much larger implications for
Yeah.
the whole realm of our life. And also same with drumming, got to meet
Well, all of music. Just think music.
yeah,
Would you
just
be
music
the
in general.
musician you are, right? If not for collaboration, if not for jamming with other people, if not for like, whoa, I like what you're doing there. Do that again, right?
Yeah,
Oh, I
and
want to
and
see.
and playing with people who are intrinsically more advanced in specific realms than me, that is the juice. And see, and if you're coming from a place of not as much self-love and
Yeah.
this a maturity, you might just feel retracted, like, oh, these people are better than me at this, like, and fall back. But instead it's like, no, what a great opportunity to step up, to step out of my comfort zone, to push myself a little further than I have before, to try things that I haven't done. And I'll probably not succeed the first few times that I'm trying to do
Yeah.
them, but that's great, because what am I doing? I am pushing myself. I'm learning. I'm outside of my comfort zone. And I've learned to habitually crave that feeling of existential discomfort when I am trying something new or stepping outside of the comfort zone, because I've learned to recognize in my body that that is the pathway to an expanded realm of freedom, an expanded sense of comfort zone that
Yeah.
encompasses things that used to be outside of it. And so the need and the desire to find yourself around people, surround yourself with people, if you're even, and you could do this not just physically, but even on social media, on YouTube, like,
Mm-hmm.
you can watch videos on like dogs doing funny tricks, or you can find the people who specifically inspire you, who are living a
Yeah.
lifestyle you want. And if you're going to be engaging with media at all, like watch the videos of people who you are inspired by, who you feel like are part of helping you to want to step into something greater than you may have done thus far in your life. And guess what? There's no ceiling to this process. No matter
Yeah.
who you are, no matter how far you feel you've come, there's a group of people out there that hold keys to the next level of your potential expansion and inspiration
Absolutely.
that you can find. And we're starting to become this for each other. I'm starting to see the same people So it's starting to feel like a tribe.
Yes.
We're all evolving. So like the skills and the value that we're providing to each other is evolving at the same
Yeah.
time.
Well, and it's awakening this movement that you and I, we've talked about this before. This movement that it's like the undergrowth in a forest, and it's something that not many people can see. You still see a lot of gloom and doom, and there's a lot of rough things in the news. But there's an awakening happening, and this, if you're just logging in with us, you're just joining us. It's me and Rob. We're talking about the convergence. We're really kind of circling around this philosophy, the philosophy of the convergence, and really of what this movement is. There's really no name to it. We can call it all sorts of things. We call it, we're calling the convergence specifically because this is where we're going to come together. This is where we're going to come together. We're going to work on ourselves, and literally, we are going to. And for those, some of you guys have already signed up for the convergence, but if you haven't, or if you're just curious, we are going to initiate ourselves. This is a process of saying, there's some aspects of myself, or maybe one thing, maybe multiple things, and that needs to die. Maybe it can be something as simple like, for instance, I know some people are going to it'll be smoking cigarettes, or some people it's going to be, maladaptive behaviors that always put me in a bad relationship, or I don't feel worthy. I'm in this, in a world where that's not me. That's not the me I'm going to let happen. I'm going to bury that. So when you arrive, you're going to be starting the initiation. You'll be welcomed. We're going to have hugs. We're going to have a feast, but also we're going to have a funeral pyre, and we're going to ceremonially leave behind that person, or at least that aspect, that part of the person that you don't want to be. You're going to put it in there, and we're going to have a funeral, a ceremonial funeral pyre. And that's the beginning. That's just the beginning, because you can't go around with a hole where something used to be. You can't be a not person, right? So many times we want to do that. I see it all the time. I work with former addicts, right? A lot of times, each month, and I do breath work with them, and I've done a lot of work with them, especially with my background. I'm like, hey guys, I understand. We got to get this problem under control. And I see so much of what I'm not. Well, I'm not doing this thing anymore. That's good, great, and it is. Okay, you're not this thing that you don't want to be anymore. But if you don't fill it, if you don't step into the new you, right? If you don't birth that new part of yourself, that hole, it doesn't go away. And
it's easier for old patterns to reassign.
Yes, absolutely.
So, you die to the old, to what no longer serves, but you're simultaneously birthing the gifts related to that. If you had a decade of opioid addiction, you understand that addictive behavior. You understand what it feels like to have this hopeless helplessness, and to feel trapped, and to feel subservient to a behavior that is obviously not serving. But when you step out of that, you bury that part of yourself. What you awaken is, I'm a coach, I'm a leader, I'm a person who understands what this is like. I can empathize with people in a way that someone who hasn't gone through this experience never will have the ability to. I can bridge a gap, that I can create a bridge that others can cross, to leave those patterns for themselves, to step into that empowered self-image, that empowered self-work themselves. And not only can I do this, but I have a passion for it, because this is part of my life story. So suddenly that 10 years of addiction becomes inherently a superpower. It becomes like something you would never change that you went through, because it's helped define who you are and what you can share in the world. It's given you the contrast, that helplessness, hopelessness, the physical malady of it. The fact that you've experienced that has created the contrast. It's like all form requires the shadow in order to exist. You have to have the
Yeah, you have to
darkness
have
in
the
order to have the
shadow,
light. So
right?
having experienced that gives you depth that you can then utilize with your empowered gifts for healing, for yourself, the planet, culture, everything.
That's right. And I just want to just real quick read. Patrick Souther says he loves this discussion. He says the group here helps me know I'm part of the winner group, but also lets me know I need to push myself. Hell yeah, Patrick. Absolutely. You know, we've got to push ourselves, and you're not alone. You know, if you're not familiar with Rob Lenfesty, he's got an excellent YouTube channel with some of the best guided Wim Hof method breathwork sessions I've ever seen in my life. And actually, I don't know if I'm actually in one of those, but I was there whenever you were completing one, and it is just insane. So if you're not already subscribed to Rob's channel, get over there too. And this is one of those things where, Rob and I don't live in close proximity. I think I'm like 8 or 9 hours away. So I love taking the drive. It's a beautiful drive. But these types of things, that's one of the benefits of the world we live in now, is that we can find that tribe and we can say, hey, yeah, you're not alone. And we can make these connections. And just like what you were just saying about, for instance, my struggle, we all have these things. We all have these struggles. And, I think, sometimes it's like, okay, well, it's pretty easy to identify when you're addicted to drugs. That's one of those like, oh, yeah, well, okay, there it is. But, we also have addictions to negative thoughts and our attitudes on ourselves. We get into relationships that are not healthy, right? Because there's a part of us that we do need to work on, whether it's your belief about what you deserve and who you are, or it could also be just, it's like, how do I actually look at my fellow human beings? Maybe it's I'm just an asshole, right? Maybe it's just that I need to really work on how I, interact with other people. And I think this is one of those things that, it's not an age thing, right? We have in the United States, at least, 18 years old, you're an adult, and then I guess you just do whatever you want. I guess you're done maturing at that point, and it's absolutely ridiculous. We have to constantly work on the process, and of course, Carl Jung calls it the process of individuation, becoming ourselves. He says that we are both, content with myself and changing myself. I have to learn who I am and become who I am at the same time. And so we're going to be doing this in July 16th through the 18th. It's our first, what we hope to make into an annual event. And this is something that it's important, I think, having a group that, like, for instance, a group of people who coming from different parts of the country, and with a common goal of saying, you know what, I'm stepping into something new. I'm stepping away from this part of myself that's not serving me. I'm stepping into this part of me who I want to be, and I need to birth that person. And when we're trying to kill a part of us that we don't want anymore, don't misunderstand. It's not easy, right? When you're smothering with a pillow, right? There's going to be a struggle, right? I assume. I've never actually done it. Just to kind of clarify that, I've just seen it on TV, but but that part of you doesn't want to die. And birthing something new is a painful, sometimes uncomfortable thing. And so what we're doing is we're coming together in a space where we can be vulnerable. We're going to undergo a lot of ceremonial and really some challenges. And some of the things, what are some of the things we're doing on, we've got a pretty cool list of stuff we're going to do. We don't want to give it all away. One of the things I'm really looking forward to is the ceremonial sweat lodge, and so we've got a Native American tribal elder who's going to come and put that on for us. if you've never had such an experience, that could be your first time to have that experience. But that is just one of the many things we're going to be doing. And we will be feasting. We will also be feasting. That's one of the cool things, because we've got Deanna. She's an awesome cook, and she's going to be cooking whatever your palate wants, right? So if you're vegan, we got vegan. If you're vegetarian, we got vegetarian. For your
integrating local wild foods.
Oh yeah.
Big part of it too. So like bringing that level of like, hey, not only we're empowered by this natural environment to eat well. Some of the most densely nutritive, delicious things are all growing here wild. We're going to integrate that into our food, and so the idea of this kind of is it's like we're, every aspect. That's why convergence, it's not just us converging, but it's the convergence of all of the aspects of what it means to be living as an embodied, empowered, healthy, happy, emotionally, mentally, spiritually adult human being.
Yeah. Not to get off topic, but sometimes I like getting off topic. I was talking to you about that show Alone, and I was like, oh, Rob, you got to go on this show Alone. It's all this survival. People, guys in the comments, have you seen the show Alone? It's on the History Channel. They take these people out. They literally have to be alone out in a survival situation for a long time. I love these survival shows. I would die. Like I am not as, I was telling Rob about it because I was like, okay, Rob, you are actually, fit to do this. You've got the skills and the experience to actually do it. And, why don't you go out there and do it? Of course, I'm always watching these shows, having a snack or something, as these poor people are starving on the television in front of me. But I've been recently watching Naked and Afraid. Have you seen that show, Rob?
No.
I've heard
of it.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird premise. They set these people up, they throw them out there, and Brad says now the new season is coming out of Alone, Brad, right? Because I'm looking forward to seeing that. It's like I don't ingest a lot of TV. But I always feel like I'm at least learning a little bit of something. But when I go out to Mandala Springs, I'm always eating stuff off the ground with you now, And so I came out of Mandala Springs last time. I was like, you know what, that sassafras was delicious, and so I was researching it. I'm like, okay, I gotta find some sassafras so I can make some sassafras tea. My grandfather used to make sassafras tea when I was growing up, and not to get off topic, but hey, it's conversation.
Not really off topic though, because this is the spirit of some of the things we're going to be doing here.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, and don't expect to come out of here without learning more about the natural world, about natural, like how you're supposed to use your body, right? Yeah, we're going to do some breath work, right? We're going to do, we're also going to be doing, Rob's going to teach you a lot about natural movement. And as you can see, if you're watching on the screen now, Rob's pretty good at moving. Rob's always, here's the thing, I'm a pretty able-bodied person, and I would go so far as to say I'm pretty darn fit. But every time I'm out hanging out with Rob, he turns into a cartoon. About this much cartoon is Rob. He's maybe 90% mortal man, 10% cartoon. There'll be a tree or some, and of course this is not just physically, of course physically, I feel like if he were to walk out on a plank and the plank was removed, he would stay in the air for like the 10 seconds, like a Wile E. Coyote. But also we were in the mountains coming back from a breathwork session this past retreat when we were doing the Wim Hof method retreat. We do a sunrise breath work that Rob leads it, and it's great times whenever I can kind of just sit back and I'm like, yeah, Rob, you do, you go ahead and guide us through it. I get to breathe, and I always appreciate it. But we were coming back, and he started speaking in this kind of almost a cartoonish voice. And what was it that we were eating that last time? It was all over the So-chan. It was like, So-chan. And I just hear, So-chan. And I turn around, he's already, kind of on the roaming around, and he's like eating some, oh, yeah. And then it was delicious. It really was. I ate a bunch of it, and this is the cool thing. It's like, that was not planned at all. It wasn't like Rob was like, okay, so next on the list, I'm going to teach them a little bit about So-chan. And so when that's one of the kind of the cool things. And of course, as I diverge from my topic, we both are, whenever you come out to this, expect to have a little bit of unexpected, and not to mention, you're going to bring something of yours. And I know not everybody can come to this event, but like if you're coming to a workshop, or if you're coming to any kind of an event where people are going there to work on themselves, to be vulnerable, you bring yourself. You're bringing that divine light within you. You're bringing your own energy. You're bringing, your personality, and that changes everything. And that's just a microscopic, I guess a microcosm of the way that you change everything in the world, right? And so going back to what we were talking about, it's really a great, way to experience, wow, I'm actually, bringing my energy, and that changes how so-and-so is going through. I'm giving this person more energy, and that person's giving me energy. That's how we work as human beings. Yes. It's not just like we're a bunch of automatons, and you go to your house and I go to my house, and I'm going to be on social media and clicking this. Yeah, we can do those things as well. Do you remember when social media was supposed to be like something that was social? like it was going to be this thing that brought us together as human beings and made us better people, and then it turned out just to be kind of like trash dumpster fires. I don't know. That's just, my little side note there.
The potential's there. It's all how you use it. The more powerful the tool, the more easy it is for it to be abused.
Exactly. And we have to have a maturity when we approach it. Exactly. Right? It's just like,
and as you become more powerful, the responsibility to use that power in a mature and healthful way is greater and greater, because it's much easier to abuse. So, that's part of doing this work, and part of staying present and continually coming back to the basics, to the foundation, because as you grow in power, it requires a lot of work to make sure that power is always being directed in a way that is increasing health and well-being. Social media, absolutely perfect example. It's the dominant use right now is a sad thing. People superficially posturing, presenting, here is the facade of happiness and a joyful life. Here's some pictures of these things. And then as soon as the camera's off, they're crying in the corner, or they're not living the life that they're presenting. Or it's an opportunity for people to have these existential arguments that have no end, because there's no actual emotion, heart connected human interaction happening. It's these facsimile talking to a facsimile, and the people are hiding behind them. So that's a way it can be used. Another way is like, look at my Facebook, look at Jesse's Facebook, look at our YouTube channels. Right. Social media can be used as a way to disseminate beauty, to disseminate empowering practices, to share what has worked for us and inspired us in a way that can bridge a gap to maybe help those same things to help you. Yeah. This is an opportunity, but it requires focused, directed, intentional use of that power. Right. And of that tool. Yes. In order for it to be that thing that it can be.
Yeah, you don't give a child a chainsaw, right? And the thing is, a chainsaw can be a wonderful tool. You can do a lot of good things with it. I've seen people make amazing sculptures, but it takes a certain maturity and respect of the tool, right? It's the same way with social media, and with purpose with right intention, you can do a lot, and that's what we're doing literally right now. That's literally the community that we're talking about, and it's like you can build that kind of a tribe over great distances. There are people here right now. Where are you guys from, guys? I'd love to know. I know at least one of you guys from here in Indiana because I know you. But we've got people from all over the world coming together in this way, and again, that's that underreported. That's that almost. It's almost like an underground type of a movement. That I'm just so excited to be a part of. It's something that it's something that we don't fully even understand what's going on. We won't know until later.
It's much bigger. This movement of people looking to be inspired to be healthy, active parts of a community, a global community that exists to elevate our presence on this planet and what it means to be happy, healthy, alive, thriving humans. It's bigger than any of us could imagine. There are more of us out there than any amount of news or media would ever let you believe.
Yeah.
Exist. Significantly so. And the moment that we really truly recognize the power that is inherent in this tribe, we start to collaborate and we start to connect and act like a community. A lot of the old paradigm, that dysfunctional realities will fall away like so much dust.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really exciting to see where this is all going to go. And so guys, if you have any questions, if you want to throw those into the chat box, you can go ahead and do that.
Yeah, I've only personally got a few more minutes.
Yes.
If anyone has any questions for me specifically, please post them in there. I'm happy to share, and I'm just always love having these dialogues. It's so nourishing, and I'm really happy that we get to do this. But I've got maybe 5 more minutes.
Sure. Yeah, guys, if you have any questions for Rob specifically, shoot them in the text box there. We've been talking about the convergence and really the philosophy behind it, some of the aspects that you're going to have. We're keeping some of the things secret. We want you to come into it with a fresh and open mind. It's going to be a place where we really feel free to be vulnerable, feel free to, it's one of those types of things where it's like, it's a safe place for a person to really work on him or herself. There will be challenges, physical challenges, temperature challenges, challenges of the mind, challenges to let go, challenges to accept. We're really proud of the event that we're putting together. We're really, really excited to do it. And I know that it's going to be just yet another one of these times where every time I go out and do workshops or anything with Rob, I leave insanely exhausted. Like I'm always like, Rob, I can't take, like I'm driving home and I'm like, oh man, I am exhausted. But it's one of those types of exhaustion where you're just happy. It's this kind of exhaustion where it's like, yes, that was worth every ounce of energy that I expended. And we're going to have you expend a lot of energy at this event. You will be nourished, mind, body, and soul, and there'll be a lot of bearded hugs, and just a lot of fun, and it's not, and a lot of just getting to know other people from other walks of life who are like-minded, building that tribe, So guys, I want to thank Rob. I want to thank Rob for being here. Let's see here. No major questions. I see every body and soul there will change the environment. Absolutely, Brandon. That's absolutely true. Yep. So awesome. Well, guys, this has been a fun conversation. Anytime I ever have Rob on, it's always a really fun time. And so I'm going to stick around for just a little bit longer. If you have any questions about the convergence or anything like that, you can always reach out to me or Rob.
And if you have questions after I'm gone, we'll discuss them the next time we get together. So
yeah, absolutely. This is just every time we can, it's just nice to be able to touch base and with you, Rob, and it's always just any excuse we can get, right? So I'm glad this happened to work out for both of us on our schedules. Rob is alive and well. Last time, he got busy and he got overburdened all of a sudden and couldn't get in touch with me. So it's like, is Rob okay? Look at him. I think he's all right. I think he's doing okay. Rob, thanks so much for being here, my friend. I will look forward to getting all of this going, and I'm going to be coming out, and it's a matter of weeks now that I'll be out there.
Close. Yeah,
so,
we're doing it.
Excellent. Well, thank you, my friend. I will see you later. Have a great weekend.
You too. Take care, everybody.
See you, Rob. And I am sticking around for just a little bit longer. I had a few questions from the audience about Wim Hof method, about breath work and cold exposure. Guys, if you didn't already check out my video today I released 2 videos. So they're both pretty much the same thing. The first one is about they're both guided cold showers. So guided cold showers. And so you've done guided breath work. Now you've got guided cold showers. And so basically, some of you guys were at the release today. But basically, we've got guided cold showers. So basically, we got music, and then I give you encouragement. I kind of guide you through the breathing of your. It could be your first. It could be your 50th. And so I just felt like sometimes it's kind of nice not to have to look at your own watch or kind of worry about your timing or anything like that. And so sometimes it's nice just to say, okay, this is what I always wished existed whenever I was starting off with my cold showering. I always wanted there to be something where it's like a beep or something whenever I got to 1 minute or 2 minute or 3 minute. So that is out right now on the channel. Take a look. It just we just dropped that today. There's one with my encouragement on there, and then one of them is a little bit more like just a we call it minimal talking. so there's not as much of me encouraging you. It's more just the music, and it's good to have those encouraging tracks sometimes. And of course, I always talk about people, whenever I was first starting with cold exposure training, when I first started breath work, when I first started all these things, especially with cold showers, I would get into the cold shower with a cheesy 80s rock or cheesy 90s rap and just really enjoy that. And so I still recommend it, but this I just put out the track today. It's a video it's for a between a 5 and a 6 minute cold shower. And of course, if you just want to get out after 1 or 2, it'll mark every minute. I tell you, okay, it's minute 1, it's minute 2, it's minute 3. So that is out today. Also, guys, I'm going to be traveling around with the Wim Hof method a lot. So here in the United States, we've really opened up and things are looking good. I've scheduled a Wim Hof method. My next Wim Hof method event is going to be in Oregon. So if you're on the West Coast, Patrick, you're in Olympia, Washington, so maybe this might interest you. Hopefully you're still watching. But if you're on the West Coast, I'll be in Newport Beach, Oregon on, August 8th. And this is really kind of cool. I'm going to be with a fellow level 3 Wim Hof method instructor. So for those of you who are not familiar with the levels of Wim Hof method instructor, for instance, when you start off, and this is something that it didn't exist back whenever I began. When I started being a Wim Hof method instructor, I was one of the first ones. Like it was, we learned directly from Wim, and then there's been quite a few generations of Wim Hof method instructor come out after that. And there weren't levels or anything like that. It was just, hey, it just kind of is what it is. But we've got level 1, you got level 2, level 3 is the highest that they go. And so Matt Soul, he's out there in Washington. I'm going to be out in that area, and I was like, hey, Matt, he and we shared the stage at the Wim Hof experience in San Jose. Some of you guys might have seen us do that. But in San Jose, we were in front of 1,000 people with Wim, and we ice bathed all of like 1,000 people in one night. It was awesome. So anyway, I was like, dude, I'm going to be out on the West Coast. Let's do something. So he and I are putting together a Wim Hof Method fundamentals workshop. And then after the workshop, so it's going to be on the beach of Newport, right on the beach. Spots are limited. Take a look. I think I might have posted something on it on my YouTube, but if not, go to my Facebook or my website, jessecoomer.com. And I'd be happy to, if you want to email me, of course, you can always email me. If you can't find the link, I'll send it to you. But 2 level 3 instructors from the first generation. He and I were both in that very first class ever to be certified as Wim Hof Method instructors here in the United States. And so we have never teamed up before. So I love collaboration. I love collaborating with other instructors, with other bright and interesting people. And so, and of course, that's why I team up with Rob. That's why I team up with James Stewart. He and I, if you're a fan of the channel, you've probably seen James Stewart. So I'm going to go out there. We're going to do that. And then afterwards, we're going to have a cookout on the beach. So I'm looking forward to that because Matt, I'm going to have him on the channel too, so that we can talk about this. But he's going to bring some fresh caught salmon and some asparagus and some stuff that is just really, really tasty and really, really good for us. And we're going to be doing that afterwards. So that's Newport Beach, and that's August 8th. And then if you're in Ohio, man, I'm going to be doing a lot of stuff in Ohio. So in August, I'll be in Ohio. And when is that? I'm going to check my schedule real quick. So in August, I'm heading to Delaware, Ohio. And that is on August 14th and 15th. So literally, I'm going to be doing 2 workshops that weekend. So I'm doing a Wim Hof Method Fundamentals and a Wim Hof Method Advanced. And that's in August. So those are coming up pretty soon. Sai says, during the Breathwork University. Okay, so Sai, excellent question. Thank you, my friend, for asking a question about Breathwork University. So guys, if you're not familiar, I also teach other breath work. So I do Wim Hof Method, and then I'm also a breath worker. Of course, you've probably seen my maybe my book and all that stuff. So I teach the foundations and basically how all breath work works, because it's all working with your pulmonary system. It's all working with the same stuff. So let's see here. We've got Sai says, during Breathwork University, you mentioned breathwork instructor certification courses. Any more information on those? Yes, Sai. So for those of you guys who have taken my 6-week Breath Mastery University course, you've already done the first step of becoming an instructor. So I'm certifying breath workers under myself. So basically, I'm going to be teaching all the stuff that I've learned, basically allow you to skip years and years and years of frustration and teach you how to become a breath worker. So kind of turn your passion into a profession. And so I'll be certifying people under myself. And so the way this works is there's 3 things you need to do. The first step is to take the 6-week Breath Mastery University course. And so that if many of you guys have already taken it that I see here, that covers literally all of the elements of breathwork. Actually, if you take a look, let's see over here, just Wednesday, we talked about, I don't know if you can see this right there. That's pretty hard to see, I know. But that's my artwork, basically covering all of the muscles, every part of your physiology that's involved in every breath that you take, really focusing in on mastering breath mechanics, which is the most overlooked and ignored aspect of breath work. Everybody always says, hey, teach me the technique. Do you have a technique that does this? Hey, do you have a technique for this issue? And it's like, dude, yeah, the techniques are great, but they don't really do much, or they do very little. If you don't understand breath mechanics, if you don't understand your own physiology, there's so much to it. So the 6-week Breath Mastery course, we're currently in the cohort. And whenever the cohort starts, we close the cohort. So you have to get into the cohort in order to maintain it. And the cool thing is about these, over the 6 weeks, You're in a Slack group. There's a lot of interaction between you and people. And if you guys did, actually, we just started the Slack group. So some of you guys might not be like, what? I don't remember a Slack group. Well, we just started it so that everybody that's in the course, we're updating and upgrading every single session, but it's all live. And so for 2 hours every week, we get together on a Wednesday, usually Wednesday evening or Wednesday afternoon. And for 2 hours, we go deep into different elements of the art of breath work, how breathing works, respiration, cellular respiration, all these different aspects, CO2, O2, how to test whether or not you're getting the result that you think that technique should give you. And if not, okay, what's the problem? Where can we find that problem? How to troubleshoot, all kinds of stuff like that. And so last week we covered breath mechanics, which is one of my favorite ones to do, but it's also really hard because I have multiple changes during that. So there's 3 different sets that I use. Like one is at the whiteboard, and the next one I'm demonstrating different aspects of breath mechanics with my physical, like with my body. And then of course we do other stuff like that. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, that is step 1 of the certification. And then most people, hey, if you don't want to be if you don't want a certification, that's fine. The 6-week breath mastery course is for anybody and everybody. It's not just for if you want to become some kind of an instructor. And again, that's awesome. But some of you guys do. Some of you guys are interested in spreading breath work, and you're like, okay, I'm pretty sure I understand it. I'm pretty sure I get it. But there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things when it comes to being a breath worker that it's important to understand. For instance, safety, how different techniques do they speak together, different, like for instance, different schools of breath work. What are the commonalities? What are the differences? What are some misconceptions that people have? How do you coach up another human being how to breathe? Like literally, how do you do that? How do you do a functional breath assessment? How do you guide group sessions and do it with integrity and confidence, knowing that you're not messing anybody up? Because one of the things that a lot of people don't understand about guided breath work is that when you guide someone through breath work, whenever you're engaging, whenever you're listening to a guided breath work session, you're giving someone else permission over your autonomic nervous system. And that, I think most people don't really fully understand the fullness of that. So if the person may not know what they're doing, but they might be really energetic, enthusiastic, and really meaning well. But if they can really put you in a worse state than what you started. And even though it might even feel good, while you're doing it, you might be coming out of it in a worse state with higher stress, higher anxiety, less sleep, and you don't understand. It's like, I was doing breath work. Breath work, it does good things. It's good for you, right? Well, yes and no. Breathing can be to your benefit, and breathing can be to your detriment. And we understand this, I think, if you read James Nestor's Breath. I just recently read the book. Somebody, there was a participant at one of my events who was talking to me, and he's like, have you read James Nestor's Breath? And it was in April of this year, and I was like, no, I actually haven't read the book. I've heard it's good, and I know my friend Chuck, he's mentioned in the book, but I had never read it. And the reason why I hadn't read it was because it came out when I was writing my book. And just so you know, when you're writing a book and it happens to be during crazy times, okay, the time I was writing my book, I was fortunate. I finished the vast majority of my research in February of 2020. And I had between February of 2020 and June of 2020 to complete my book. And so you know what those times were like if you were alive during that time. And so it was a crazy time. My son was home. His from preschool, so I was home preschooling him. It was a crazy time. I didn't have time to sit and read a book. And so I didn't get a chance to read his book. I was already, miles deep in my own research, working with, and I was really fortunate. I was working with Dr. Otto Music, and I was really, it was great. So anyway, I hadn't had the chance to read his book, but what he talks about in that book, and I'm kind of forgetting why I even brought this up, but ultimately he talks about all these different aspects of breath. What we're going to be doing in the certification portion. So again, the very first one can be for anybody, but you have to do that in order for me to say, okay, you're ready for the advanced online course. So we do an advanced online course, which anybody also can be in that as well, but it's primarily intended for people who want to go on to certification. And during that time, I'll be taking applications for certification, and that will be fall of this year. And here's the thing. I'm not looking for a lot of people to join. I'm not trying to take anybody and everybody. I have to be selective because I'm building a team. And this is something I'm really serious about. I believe that one of the best things we can do for the world, there's all kinds of causes and things like that. And for me, my biggest cause, the biggest thing I can do for the world is help people to calm down, to sleep better, to make better choices, to focus better, and just to show up in a healthier state, to have control over that state. And I feel like my faith in humanity is that if we can do that for humanity, we can create a better world for everyone to live in. My son and my family and your kids and my kids, all these, we can create that world. So I'm looking for a team. Okay, when I'm looking for instructors, I'm not just looking for, hey everybody, please sign up. I'm looking for the right team. And so I'm not going to accept everybody who applies, but I will. But it's going to be based off of who do I think is going to best represent, of course, my style, my approach to breath work, and who do I think is just awesome people that's going to go out there and really help make this revolution happen, because I'm going to want to work with these people later on after they're certified as well. But anyway, getting back to the question, I'm sorry, Sai, for going on and on, but so the 6-week Breath Masterclass is step 1, then the advanced online class is step 2, and then there will be the master class, and this will be the master clinicals, or what we might call the practicals, actually. So you actually have to demonstrate to me practically in front of me, and then I'll also coach you. It's not like just me testing you. It's not like I'm just sitting there with a notepad judging all the whole time. But it will literally be a face-to-face. So in order to get the certification, there will be an aspect face-to-face, at least for this first class. And I know that there's a lot of people from around the world that are looking to get certified, and I'm working on possibly maybe doing an American and then a European cohort. But right now it's going to be an American location, and then of course anybody's welcome. If you can get here, awesome. But we're going to go to the mountains. I already have a big cabin picked out. I've got it reserved for June of 2022, and we will be out there for it. I'm not sure exactly how many days we'll be out there. It depends on how many people get accepted. The more people we have in the class, the longer we're going to be out there, because I'm going to make sure that everybody, before they leave, I want to make sure that everybody can consistently and accurately do a functional breath assessment, can consistently and accurately put together program breath, so that they're not, sending people away, unbeknownst to them, in a worse state than what they started with. And basically, I want to send out the best possible breath workers I can produce. And so, that's coming up. I don't have any other information other than just that right now, because it's kind of hard to put together these certification. And this is one of the things my team is working on. We're working on the legal aspects, working on the logistics, what it will look like, how much continuing education, if there will be continuing education, all these different things. So we're working on it, and I'm excited. So Sai, you might be on the other side of the world, but we're going to try to figure it out. We're going to try to figure it out, brother. And I'm thinking, I know where you are. So, well, I don't know where you are. Like, that sounded creepy. I don't know, like, what room of the house you're in. But I'm just saying, I know it'd be a significant journey for you. So we're going to figure stuff out as we go. And always feel free to contact me to see, maybe if we can accommodate you. But yeah, right now, I've already got the cabin in the Colorado Rocky Mountains. It's actually at a certain elevation because you're going to be tested in high elevation, and then you're going to be tested in the regular, like we'll go lower, we'll go higher, things like that. So it's going to be, first of all, it's going to be an unforgettable weekend, or not weekend, but it'll be an unforgettable week, an unforgettable experience. You will just completely, it's going to be awesome. And so I'm looking forward to that. So, hey guys, speaking of awe, how, that's an interesting face that you made on the screen there, Si. So we'll figure something out for you. We'll figure stuff out. Anyway, having said that, guys, if you have any questions, any thoughts, concerns, I'd be happy to talk to you a little bit longer about that. I'm coming up on I'm going into my second hour on YouTube Live, and I'm just having fun. It's Friday. Now, here's the thing. Here in the Midwest, it is cloudy and stormy outside, so that's why it looks like it's nighttime here. Yeah, sure. An event in Germany would be awesome. Oh man, what is it? Mein Deutsche Bruden. I am German by genetics, and so I so want to come back. I've never been to Germany. I would so love to go to Germany. The Dante THB. I would love to visit. Someday I'm going to go back, or not go back. I guess I've never technically been, but yeah. I got to meet a lot of really cool Germans when I was in Poland last year, wasn't it? The year is kind of blurred by. 2020 just was kind of a weird year, of a blur of a year. And then now we're halfway through 2021. But yeah, I was in Poland leading some expeditions with Wim Hof, and I tried my German, so I don't speak. Ich spreche nur wenig Deutsch, and I know how I know how bad that sounded, because I know whenever I hear it said correctly, I'm like, yeah, I was trying, I was doing my best. So I don't know. In Germany, do you guys? Because I know it's different in different places. There's some places that it's like, hey, we're just happy that you're trying, and then there's other places like, hey man, learn it right or don't. If I go to Germany, will people be pretty forgiving? So far, all the German people that I've met have been very forgiving whenever I speak German incorrectly. And of course, I'll know how to say, ich habe Hunger, because because I am hungry often, what is it? Hast du ein Kuli? Or, I'm going to write my name or something like that. But I'm not. I took 1 year of German in high school, 3 years of Spanish, and I think I retained more German. But it's funny because I married into a Spanish-speaking family, so I took 3 years of Spanish high school. I retained virtually none of it. And then I didn't know later on that I would marry into a Puerto Rican family. And actually, and of course, every time we go visit my wife's side of the family, I do the thing where I'm like, I don't know if you guys kind of know what I'm talking about, where it's like, you don't understand what anybody's saying, but you're kind of like, okay. Yeah, it's like you're just trying to be pleasant, and it's like, okay, guys, all right then, And so half the time, I think sometimes they think I understand what they're saying, because then they'll turn to me and like, I'm like, oh man, I don't know what you mean. But eventually, I think immersion is the best teacher, because the longer I hear the language, the more I pick up on the music of the language and the cadence, and so that's one of those things where I really need to learn more with my languages. I'm terrible at Celsius conversion, as fans of the channel know, and my language skills. But the thing is, where I live, I've grown up, and generally I've lived in places where it was really hard to find anyone to practice any other language other than English, and then I became an English professor, right? So, it's like I'm just really gonna go 100% on this language and see what happens. Let's see. Wow, cool. Only can speak German and a little English and understand. You can understand Russian. Well, that is fantastic. And what's interesting about, like, especially, of course, whenever actually, but everything between Germany and Russia, like if you go into those Eastern European languages, it's funny how there's, like, for instance, in Romanian, how much you can pick up. Like, okay, I don't know much Latin, but I know some aspects of Latin, and so it's like, okay, it sounds musically like Russian, but there's aspects of Latin that I can hear. Language is a lot of fun, and it's something that I intend to get into a little bit more, but hey, it is what it is. I right now I'm speaking the language of the autonomic nervous system and trying to spread that. So anyway, guys, so yeah, we've got a lot of stuff coming up. The current cohort of the 6-week breath mastery class is going on right now. I am working on a standalone version of it, even though the live version it's always going to be better, because my jokes, okay, are always going to be in the live version, and the jokes, right? I think that's that. The jokes are what makes it, the education. There's a little bit of joke and a little bit of education, and then the standalone course, I am going to inject a few jokes just because it's my standalone course, but I'm working on that. I'm hopefully going to be able to roll a standalone course. And when I say standalone, I mean it's not live. It's pre-recorded videos teaching you how to master your breath. Because breath work it's something that's it's changed my life so much that I want to see it continuing to go in the right direction. And I've made so many mistakes on this journey, and I know that I'm not alone. I think I wouldn't say, I've never considered myself to be anything other than maybe, just kind of an average guy, and I'm just trying to figure things out. And I think sometimes it's important to look at yourself and to look at your experience and say, my experience can't be that different from what the average person is going through. We all are having our own unique experiences, but what really unifies us is the fact that we're all humans and we're all living through this human condition. And so when I make mistakes, and then of course a lot of times people reach out to me and they're having these issues, I'm like, okay, I remember when I had this issue. So that's a lot of these things I'm trying to help guide people through with breathwork, because it literally is the language of your autonomic nervous system, which therefore is the language of your body and your physiology. So, hey, yeah, and thank you, Sai. I think my Arnold Schwarzenegger impressions are pretty spot on, and I'll just demonstrate. And this is why people sign up for the class. Probably, get in the chopper. You must get the pump. I think that. I mean, wouldn't you sign up for a course if a guy does that good of an impression of Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? I mean, what more credential do you want? Thank you, Sai, for mentioning that. Yeah, I got to say. Is it Sasha? Okay, the Dante THB. You're okay. Is that German? And here's the thing. What happened? I was at a workshop not too long ago, actually with Rob, and we were trying to do Arnold Schwarzenegger, but there was a guy with that had a very thick German accent there, and every time we tried to do like an Arnold Schwarzenegger accent, it started to sound a little bit more like the German accent. It was like, and we even made a point where like we're not trying to do that, it just kind of starts to happen. So do it now. That's right, Dana. Do it now. Yeah, and I when it comes to Arnold Schwarzenegger, it's just so much fun to do those impressions. I can't help myself. I can't help it. And the funny thing is, if you guys know anything about me, and if you don't, I'll just share this. When I first decided to take my health and my life seriously, it was after coming off of this long addiction, and it was this, a huge shift. I'd gone all of my 20s, from the age of 18 to 28, I should say, as an opioid addict. I mean, it was just an everyday thing. And as I was coming out of that, I knew that I had to do something to make myself proud of myself. That ultimately was, I needed to find my self-value. And so that's one of the reasons why I was like, I got to make something. I got to do something. And so I did the weird thing where, and I don't always recommend this to everybody. Not, it was perfect. It was a good thing for me, but maybe it might not be a good thing for everybody else. But I decided to go to grad school as I was drying out. And so my first year of grad school was my last year of addiction, but it was whenever I was weaning myself off, and I somehow had the strength to do that. And I think that strength is within everyone. And so I would encourage you, if you're listening to me now, and if you have any issue that you'd like to get rid of, I am a big fan of slow and gradual with a lot of resolve. But then I got into, I started having high blood pressure and all sorts of infections and stuff like that. And I needed to get healthy. And so I started going to the gym, and I hated everything about the gym. And then my buddy was like, dude, you love these Arnold Schwarzenegger quotes and you love doing your Arnold voice. Why don't you he had a copy of Arnold Schwarzenegger's The Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding. As a joke, he was like, why don't you just get huge? You should just lift the weights and then get the pump. And so that was literally on a joke. It was just absurd enough to get me to do it. And maybe that's been, now that I'm talking about it, maybe that's been my thing. If it's something that's outrageous, kind of and silly almost, or absurd, it does seem to attract me. I do get into ice baths all the time. I do these kind of off the wall things. Maybe that's my thing. I don't know. But yeah. So who's your daddy and what does he do? That's right. Oh my gosh. So anyway, guys, if you have any questions, anything you want to talk about, feel free to just chime in there. I normally do my YouTube live during this hour, but I started an hour early with Rob because he needed to get off the live a little early. He's working on Mandala Springs nonstop, getting ready for the event. So I'm always like, yeah, hey man, anything you need to do to get ready for that event, let's make it perfect. Let's go for it. But yeah, if you have any questions, any thoughts, comments, feel free to throw them in there. Today is the day the U.S. government is supposed to unveil the UFO documents. And all day long, I've been waiting for videos of aliens on the news, and I have not seen a thing. And I haven't really actually, I'll take that back. It's not like I'm actually checking the news very much, but I've been Googling it occasionally, hoping for a clip. Is anybody else interested in this? It's probably all, because I know I can trust the government. I'm sure they're going to tell me the truth, but I'm using some sarcasm there. But has anybody else been following this whole UFO, or what do they even call them now? The UAPs Anybody? Nobody cares about it. The Dante. I don't know. Have they talked about it over there yet in Germany? I don't know. But yeah, so but yeah, I've been waiting for these awesome clips, or like they were promising me like 4K videos, and I haven't seen a thing. And you know, like it's just I gotta say, the Dante, you're right. I love to watch SpaceX. I love to watch things that I'm for sure, wow, that looks like that's actually happening right now. Let's see, Rye says, does anyone actually get regular sleep, and how? Ooh, let's talk about that, Rye. I was just talking about aliens for no big great reason. I was just frustrated. I gotta say, I was kind of hoping, like, there was this one interview I saw, and I'm going to get to the sleep talk here in a minute, because that's actually fun. That's actually useful. This is just kind of shooting the breeze conversation when we talk about aliens and whatnot. But I was watching a documentary, or no, it wasn't a documentary. It was an interview. And the guy was like, yeah, we have 4K video. Because one of the things I'm always, every time we see these alien, or whatever they are, right? The UFO, whatever's, it's always these really pixelated or grainy, like black and white things. I'm like, I guess that's supposed to be an impressive thing. I don't know. And you're telling me it's going really fast. And yeah, it looks like a dot that's flying around. And I guess I'm impressed by that. But I was hoping for something that was like, okay, we've got all these cameras now. Everybody's got a camera. They're walking around. I want to see some real cool stuff. Show me something out of the X-Files, which I have yet to see. And so I'm waiting. And of course, watch tonight. There'll be some kind of like terrifying. It's like, yeah, they're here. It's going to be some kind of like Independence Day type of thing, but it'll be more than what I asked for. But I'm just saying, show me the pictures. Show me the videos. All right. That's enough about the aliens. All right. Oh man. Yeah, it suddenly becomes serious again. That's the thing. Okay, that's maybe not enough about the aliens. I still want to talk about it just a minute. But okay, so I grew up my whole life, okay? There was always and sadly enough, I don't know why the History Channel chose to do these alien things. It's like, wait a minute, is that documented history? Isn't that just like speculation or some weird nonsense? And of course, they also have the alien, the Ancient Aliens, which is, if you watch that show, Ancient Aliens, and you watch it enough, basically aliens are responsible for every advancement of everything. Like, humans have not actually done anything. It's just like us all aliens. Because somehow this show went on for I don't know how many seasons. But it does make me, I'm like, geez, who knows, right? So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But no matter what the government tells me, I'm going to say, yeah, I don't know if I can really believe you. so I'm like, I guess I'll just, I don't know. I don't really know what I'm expecting, but anyway, let's talk a little bit about sleep. So Madman, your sleep sucks. And so does, so does Rise. So Rye, it's because you're staying up watching Star Trek too much, man. I have the same struggle. We all know what it's like. One more episode. And before you know it, the captain is telling you engage, and you're just not sleeping. No. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about sleep, and this is something I work with my clients on a lot. So you guys know I'm an English professor, but I also equally I'm 50-50 now. It started off as something that was kind of like a little thing I did to help people, and then it turned into a lot of things I did to help people, and then there's a lot of things, and now it definitely dominates my life now. It's amazing, right? And so I do this for a living now, as well as I also teach at the university, but I have a lot of clients, and sleep is one of the number one complaints amongst all of my clients. When I do workshops, trainings, clinics, when I do speaking events. Sleep is one of the number one things. And I'll just tell you this, sleep is one of the things that I've always had a lot of trouble with. And it's not something that I cured, right? And I don't want to make things, I don't want to, I was talking about James Nestor's book a few minutes ago. And if you listen, or if you read the book, the epilogue is actually very important to read. So if you have the book, make sure to read the epilogue, because he really dissects some really important things there. And he talks about how there are limitations to what breathwork can do. It's not a cure-all. It's not the panacea. It generally is going to, it's going to nudge you in the right direction, which will take you in a place of health or in a place of dysfunction and poor health in a major way, right? But it's not like, oh, I have trouble sleeping, and then I did this technique, and then, oh, now I never have any problems, right? It is a tool, right? And literally, when you practice breath work, you are in the practice of speaking and receiving. So you're sending and receiving signals with breath work. And that's kind of weird. Normally, we're used to being in one or the other, right? We're either sending or we are receiving. But whenever you're practicing breath work, you're doing both. And you're speaking a language that you have to kind of learn. You have to kind of learn this language, because it's not words. Words are what we, only just a little bit of our brain understands words. The rest of our body doesn't really understand words. But it does understand breathing. It does understand a lot of things that are outside of language. And so when we practice breath work, especially in the service of improving our health, improving our sleep, in this case, what we're talking about now, it's a tool. It does seem to work better with practice, meaning that if you really learn your physiology, you have to learn your physiology, you have to learn your breath mechanics, and then you also learn the techniques. So you have to learn all of these things. It's not just a matter of one simple trick. But if you learn all these things and you really come at it with intention, awareness, using your sense of interoception well, with time, that one technique that used to take 20 minutes or 10 minutes to do, to get any kind of response, even though you were using the correct breath mechanics and you understood your own physiology, it's funny how it starts to work much faster, and you start to really get good at it, and you really start to not only send the signal better, but you receive the signal better. So when it comes to sleep, this is where everyone's a little bit different. And this is where we generally as humans have just about everything in common, but we are individuals and we have specifics that are only for us. Let's see I'm going to kind of catch up with the chat box here. So Rye says he might be exercising too late. Well, right there, that's a very high probability. Now, this is a matter of getting into your autonomic nervous system and determining where you're going to go with it. Now, Rye, I think you emailed me recently. We just recently had some epic emails back and forth, if I do recall. And I think you're going to get into the next cohort of the 6-week breath mastery course. Am I right, my friend? Or I don't think you've already taken it. I think you had an awesome story. I'm not going to tell your story because that's your story and it's not for me to tell. But as I recall, you're looking to get super deep into breath work, and I'll just kind of leave it at that. And you're working toward that. And I think you haven't taken the 6-week breath mastery course. You're about to, or you're thinking about taking it soon. I think that's the case. Just let me know if I'm right. Yeah, it's hours of work. Okay, maybe I need to go back in the chat box here in a minute and figure this out. So you're exercising 6 days a week with boxing. Awesome. That's really cool. Physically exhausted at night, but my brain, yeah. And okay, there's a reason for that. Your autonomic nervous system is you're still producing stress hormones, right? That's what it sounds like. Madman says, falling asleep is not an issue for me. Staying asleep is the issue. See, and that's the interesting thing. That's the interesting thing, because everybody's got their own little thing. So Jesse's got it. Thank you, my friend. Thank you, Brandon. So Madman's asking, okay, waking up multiple wake ups. Let's see here. Yoga, some needed breathing. Let's see, staying awake, Sudoku. Wake up in the middle of the night. So looks like, so you're just starting the program. Yeah, okay, great. Thank you, Rai. So here's the thing, especially with people who exercise a little bit later in the day, there are some studies that show that a person can leave the gym and still stay. So I think we all understand the basics of the autonomic nervous system, or at least the essential aspects for the sake of this conversation. I dig into it really deep in the course, but we don't have time. We don't have 12 hours right now. So, because I've sort of got to pee right now, and so like the time is, the timer's on, right? There'll eventually come a time when I'm like, well, okay, guys, have a great weekend. But right now, it's just a minor urge to pee. So we're cool. That's what happens whenever you drink a bunch of water and stuff before one of these. But basically, there's all research that shows that a person can leave the gym. First of all, when you're in the gym, when you're exercising, especially if you're boxing, your autonomic nervous system is in the state of fight or flight. And that's a very useful state. That's appropriate. That's an appropriate state to be in when you are in that high state of arousal. You need to have blood flow in certain areas, and you need those stress hormones in order to function at that heightened level. So what happens is, and I see this all the time also with my MMA guys, you'll train late, you'll be physically exhausted because you did exert an enormous amount of energy, but you just can't get any sleep, and it's like, what's going on, right? And so what happens is, even though you're physically exhausted, your autonomic nervous system it did not come out of that state of fight or flight. And actually for most of it's very difficult. Most people, it's very difficult to come out of the state of fight or flight. You actually, because of the way the world works now, right? Because if you think about it, what do you do after your workout? You drive. And so for most of us, right? Some of you guys might just walk. And if you do, you're doing your autonomic nervous system a favor by just walking. But ultimately, you do need to try to find ways to downregulate. And actually, you know what? If you go on my channel, you know what? I'm just going to do this for you right now because, hey, that's the kind of guy I am. I'm going to link the video, and it's a guided breathwork session. And of course, it's techniques, right? And that's just one of the ingredients, but it's better than nothing. This is one I got published in, actually, I published this in T Nation, so Testosterone Nation, because this is a really common problem with anybody, like weightlifters, with fighters. So let's see here. Post-workout, Jesse Coomer. I think that should find the session. Guided post-workout breathing. I'm just going to link this. I have two videos here. I'll link in the description for you, or in the, not the description, but the box here. Oh my God! And this is whenever I shave my beard. Ooh! Oh my God! Okay, so this is whenever I was growing my beard back too. So here you go. So that is my talk, and then I think at the end there is guided. Yeah. So I even give you the positioning. So generally coming into the 90-90 position is going to be also beneficial for downregulation of the autonomic nervous system. So yeah, absolutely. Let's see, check out the Right Sleep Method by Dr. Okay, cool. But when it comes down to it, you can downregulate your autonomic nervous system, and then you can generally start to reduce those stress hormones. One of the stress hormones that you'll have in your system, which is also very beneficial in some cases, is going to be norepinephrine. And we experience a heightened state of arousal when we are producing high levels of norepinephrine. The issue can be that when we have high levels of norepinephrine, guess what happens? Your hearing, your vision, your sense of smell, all of those things are enhanced. Isn't that kind of cool? So, and this goes back to our ancient ancestors who were, hunting and gathering, it was very beneficial, and it's what allowed our ancestors to live so long, is that they could see a little bit better, they could hear a little bit better, they could smell a little bit better. Or maybe they probably stunk. But as far as their sense of smell was better, and so having those senses heightened are great whenever you're trying to avoid being somebody else's lunch, or you're trying to find some prey or just whatever. You avoid being killed. But whenever you're trying to lay there and go to sleep, you don't want those heightened senses. You actually want them to be dulled so that you can actually get some sleep. And that's always been one of my issues my whole life is that, because I easily get into the state of fight or flight. There's different levels of your levels of dopamine. Like, I'm a very high dopamine person, in that things can bug me and it just drives me crazy. And this is why breath work is so important for me and for people like me. If you're like me and you have anxiety and I'm one of these weird people that I'm an extrovert. I love people. I love being around people. I love enjoy people, but I'm also one of these people that for my whole life I had social anxiety, which is an odd combination, right? You love being social, but you have anxiety about being social. So that is one thing that breathwork has really helped me overcome. And that's also another thing that traveling and being around people and just being alive for 40 years has also helped me overcome as well. So it's not just breathwork that's gotten me this far. It's also enormous amount of exposure. Like, the more you do something, generally the more comfortable you are with doing it. And that's for good or bad, right? I mean, you can do terrible things a lot, and then it's like, well, it's no big deal doing that bad thing. But also, the things that you want to do can really help. And so, yeah, so that's another thing. I also have, for those of you guys, some of you guys have problems getting back to sleep. I'll link another video for you. This one's specifically for getting back to sleep. It is the trick that I do. And this, for me, I'm a 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning person who I'll wake up 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And that's usually whenever I think of some reason to worry. And so let's see, getting back to sleep. Jesse Coomer, getting back to sleep. Yeah, here it is. I'm going to link this for you. And this is when my beard is fully grown. So it's good. Fully grown beard. Yeah. Let's see. Oh man, that beard looks nice. I think I'm looking at it. Let's see here. All right, there is that video. So that one is for helping you get back to sleep. So getting back to sleep is a matter of, for me, it's a matter of contracting certain muscles and then relaxing those muscles and then adopting the proper breath wave. Ultimately, you have to understand that when you get woke up in the middle of the night, and for me, it's generally going to be something's bothering me, or I know I need to do something in the morning, and for some reason I just don't trust myself to fall asleep, because then I'll forget. Ultimately, some people have these things called worry lists, and I don't like calling it a worry list. I just like saying I'm going to make a note. So if I have something like that happen, I'll write it down, or I'll put it in my phone on the calendar for the next day to remember first thing in the morning. And that alleviates my motivational network in my brain that's saying, hey, you got to think about this. And the dopamine feedback loop. And then I focus on my breath, and I use that to clear my mind. And I'll do, well, you watch the video, but please watch the video and share and like and all those things. But I'll do the butt squeeze and then the relax. Basically, you want to do as much of a squeeze on some of your bigger muscles and really hold that squeeze for a while, and then just relax it out. And that does an enormous amount of good for getting back to sleep. And then also, you want to remember that no matter what, when you wake up in the middle of the night, your serotonin levels are low. So serotonin and melatonin are kind of there's the daytime and the nighttime version of the same thing. But the serotonin is going to make you feel optimistic, whereas the melatonin will not have that quality. So something that you weren't worried about whenever you went to sleep might bother you when you wake up in the middle of the night and just drive you crazy. Why, man, this is going to be awful. And the reality is that, and you need to understand this, and this really helps. The reality is that you don't have that serotonin helping you anymore because your brain is full of melatonin. And so remind yourself, hey, I felt comfortable enough to go to sleep this way, right? I obviously was not worried about it. It wasn't such a big problem, a few hours ago whenever I went to sleep that I couldn't get to sleep. It's probably not that big a problem. I probably have some negative look on it now because I don't have the serotonin helping me to be optimistic. And that also helps me enormous amounts, having that intellectual knowledge. Now, there's always exceptions to the rule. There's always going to be something where it's like, maybe I just need to get up and actually solve the problem. If you can actually solve the problem, great. But generally, very few problems can be solved at 4 a.m. or 3 a.m., right? Generally, you have to wait till the morning. And what happens oftentimes is after morning arrives and that circadian rhythm starts to kick on and you start to produce that serotonin again, you're like, why was I so worried about that? right? And so it's just a matter of perspective sometimes. So guys, now I got to really pee. I want to thank you guys for sticking with me. Thanks so much, especially if you've been here the entire time. This is a 2-hour session almost. So guys, I'm going to head out. Guys, thanks so much. I hope you have a great Friday, a great weekend. Don't forget to breathe. Thanks to all my Patreon members. And don't forget that next month is right around the corner. I'll be adding new Patreon guided breathwork sessions very soon. We'll be having our guided breathwork session. We get together every month for a Zoom together. We can see other people in the tribe, breathe together, and just feel amazing together. And we do that every month. If you haven't joined the Breath Club, definitely take a look at it. It's patreon.com/Midwestern Method. And we'd love to have you join the tribe. Also, take a look at my calendar for updates on upcoming events. I've got a nice full calendar, especially for August and September. In addition to that, if you are interested, I am on Instagram, i.m.jesse.coomer. That is me on Instagram, and please follow me there for more updates, etc., etc. Guys, thank you so much. Guten Tag. Let's see. Auf Wiedersehen, the Dante THB. I appreciate you being here, and I have no idea what you just habt einen. So have a great weekend. Is that what you just? I think that's what you told me to say. Abend. Abend is right. So I think that's what you said. I don't know. I appreciate it nonetheless. Happy weekend. Enjoy your weekend. I'm so happy you were here. And let's see here. Let's see. And Madman, I'm glad you made it for what you made it for. We had a great time. Hey guys, have a great weekend. Happy Friday. Don't forget to go out there and be kind to one another. Bye-bye.